Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Los Angeles Clippers have defeated the Utah Jazz in Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals by a score of 131 to 119 and are making their first ever conference finals appearance in franchise history. They scored 41 points in the third quarter, 40 points in the fourth quarter to down the Utah Jazz without Kawhi Leonard. What awaits them on the other side? That's right, the Phoenix Suns. I welcome Matthew to the podcast and to everybody who is joining us, whether you're joining us listening to the pod tomorrow or live with us right now, directly following that Western Conference Finals game. Matthew, initial reaction, boom, Suns versus Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. What are your thoughts, man?
First, I'm super excited. Finally, Suns basketball is coming back sooner rather than later. But it is on Sunday, weird time at 12 o'clock. You already got the other two Game 7s. Chris Paul, who knows if he's going to play. So initially, I was upset. But then I'm like, you know what? Let's go. Sunday, it's coming soon. So I just want to watch the Suns.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long week without Suns basketball. I wrote a piece today for brightsideofthesun.com, so if you get a chance, stop by there and just kind of talked about how eerie this week was without Suns basketball, with 117-degree temperatures, with this haze over the valley from the Telegraph fire about 60 miles from here, with some jackass driving around shooting people. You know, it's just been a weird week in Phoenix, and now we're going to have an opportunity to see our team once again play, and it looks like it's going to be Sunday. Obviously, Suns fans, for the most part, were rooting for Utah to win tonight because we wanted to force that third Game 7 in the playoffs. You have Philly and Atlanta going to Game 7. You have the Bucks and the Nets. They're going to Game 7. We wanted this one to go 7 and an opportunity to allow the Suns to play on Tuesday and, give Chris Paul more time. For those of you who are listening to this podcast, you'll probably know tomorrow what the result is with the Chris Paul situation. The Phoenix Suns said that on Saturday, that is when they were going to release some more information relative to that situation. But we don't know right now. We're just going live directly after the game. So, we'll kind of discuss that a little bit. We'll discuss, I haven't even talked to you about your reaction on the CP3 situation. Let's talk a little bit about the Los Angeles Clippers as a matchup and just kind of what this all means. But again, Los Angeles Clippers beat the Utah Jazz and are headed to their first Western Conference Finals to play the Phoenix Suns. Let's go. So if you're watching along live, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Suns Jam. You can listen to the podcast on the Bright Side of the Sun podcast network, wherever you get your podcasts, whether they be on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever. If you're watching on YouTube, we thank you. Go ahead, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. Let us know what you're thinking in the chat, and we'll kind of have this discussion as we go. Matthew, you got anything to drink tonight?
Just water tonight, my man.
It's a good idea. I'm going to have an 805 here.
Okay.
Actually, it's a delicious beer. Let's pop that.
I should have grabbed one. I didn't even think to grab one. Is that crazy?
Yeah, you are kind of crazy here. I got the wrong beer opener. I'm such a jack and ninny. Oh my god. Let's try this again. Jeez, I can't get this sucker
working
open.
Over there.
There we go. Popped open, ready to go. Cheers, Suns fans. Let's talk about the Suns and Clippers. Initial reaction right after the game. All right, Suns fans. So now we finally know the Suns are going to be playing the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. And I'll ask you just kind of right off the bat, Matthew.
Yes.
What are your initial thoughts? Is this a good matchup for the Suns? Is it a bad matchup? Is it the team you wanted? Does it even matter? Tell me what you're thinking.
I have no idea. Honestly, I think that both of these teams, of course, I don't care. I think the Suns are going to go to the finals. No matter who we play, Kawhi's there. I don't care. The Suns are going to the finals. Chris Paul sits out a game. They're going to the finals. So I'm very confident in both these matches. I don't know, man. I think that the Clippers for sure make more sense because they do play the small ball. They got super hot tonight where they didn't miss, I don't think, one shot the second half. So I don't think that's ever really going to happen again. The Suns can handle this team. Now, I'm not saying quickly, but 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the final tally for the Clippers tonight, they shot 56% from the field. I mean, they were unconscious. 51% from three, 20 made threes to Utah's 21 threes. You know, it's one of the things I've talked about coming into this upcoming series is we are going to be playing a team, whether it was the Jazz or is the Clippers, that is extremely good from downtown. Now, granted, we've got good wing defenders, but some of the troubles that we've had with the Clippers this season was the fact that they get extremely hot from downtown, and that's how they beat us 2 out of 3 games. The Kawhi situation is probably the biggest X factor going into this series, followed by Chris Paul. You know, the initial reports are Kawhi Leonard is out indefinitely with a knee issue. It might be a strained ACL. I don't think he tore it. I watched the play in which it happened in Game 5. Didn't seem overly serious, but still enough to affect him long enough to where he's going to be out potentially for the rest of the playoffs, some are referencing. So no Kawhi. The Clippers are going to have to rely on other guys, which they did. You know, these past 2 games they did. You had Terrence Mann go absolutely nuclear tonight with 39 points on 21 shots, including 7 for 10 from 3. Those kind of numbers, you know, as you mentioned, not necessarily sustainable, but it will be a challenge for the Suns defensively to ensure that they're not allowing that other guy to pop off. It's kind of like the Denver series, right? You can allow one of the guys to pop off, but you can't let a bunch of the role players come in and pop off.
Exactly. And I don't think that's really going to happen too much. I mean, things can happen on the court to where the Suns might give up a lead here or there once in a while during the game, but runs and stuff like that are kind of stopped short by the Suns. And I think, too, the way the Jazz will even look tonight towards the last 5 minutes, usually the last 5 minutes, anything can happen. But the Jazz, they get so down on themselves. Like I said, the last podcast I was on, that they're just kind of individually out there having their own problems and stuff. It doesn't seem like they communicate too much, and that's something that you have to look at the Suns team for, because they can be that way where they can actually pick each other up, and you have great leaders on that team. I just don't see it with the Jazz. So when things like that happen, there's no adjustments, and I don't think they can keep their chin up in any way.
Yeah, Nicholas Tan in the chat says Clippers have no interior D, though. Let DA feast inside. And I think that is going to be one of those adjustments that we're going to have to see from this Phoenix team because DA is a better offensive player than Rudy Gobert is. I mean, Rudy Gobert essentially forced the Clippers to the perimeter, and that's where they feasted. You know, if you're going, I saw multiple times on fast breaks where they were coming down and Rudy Gobert's hanging on their left hip, and they're like, you know what, we'll just pass out and hit those 3. So it'll be really interesting to see the game plan for the Suns, but something that is valuable. General Dragon just said it in the chat. He says Suns have home court for the rest of the playoffs now. The number 1 seed overall, the Utah Jazz, have been knocked out. That's good for the Suns.
Yeah.
We have home court advantage. Sunday's going to be that first game. You know, if we're blessed enough to get past the Clippers and we go to the NBA Finals, guess what? We have home court advantage again. All those things that Monty Williams talked about in the bubble last year about having the control of your own destiny relative to your record is coming true. Everything's kind of fallen into place. I think the one thing that didn't fall into place is, I think we can agree, we wanted this to go to a Game 7, right?
We did, and for reasons I said in the beginning, you know, we got the nephew Hayden, if he's on right now, is coming into town. He's going to be here at noon. So what kind of time will I have to even go to where we're going to watch it? I think you said you might be working. Just a weird spot for a Game 1 in the Western Conference Finals, 12 o'clock on a Sunday. I mean, could we just wait till Tuesday maybe? I'm hoping maybe they push it back somehow, but I doubt that.
Yeah, you think they would, just because of all the Eastern Conference brouhaha. I believe Game 7 is tomorrow between the Bucks and the Nets, and then Game 7 for the Hawks and Philly is supposed to be on Sunday as well. So having the Suns, play Game 1, no matter what, the Western Conference Finals, in theory, should end before the Eastern Conference Finals. And I just I don't understand the scheduling, which, again, it's it's not really a place for me to.
You don't want to go LeBron, right? You want to go full LeBron right now.
No, I will never go. I will never go full LeBron and trash the scheduling. That's for sure. But as you look at this series, and another reason, obviously, that we wanted it to go to 7 was that Tuesday start for the CP3 situation. Now, I went live from work the morning of, so I haven't actually had a chance to talk to you on the podcast about the whole CP3 situation. where were you? What was your initial reaction, and what are your thoughts currently on CP3 and his positive COVID test?
Well, not to name drop again, but Hayden Schweikart did send me over a text in the morning. He said, I forget what he said, but it was something very disappointing. But it was a picture of Chris Paul, and it said that. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's what I woke up to. Initial thoughts, of course, it sucks. It was one of those days where the negativity and all that was really bad on Twitter, of course, because, Suns fans, we got to be used to it. We got to kind of, go back the years where we got screwed over and over and over again. So I had to step away from Twitter and just be away because, once I found out really that we're not going to know anything till Saturday, it's just like, let's just play this out, and plus the way the Suns team is, and if Chris Paul misses a game, I mean, you got Cameron Payne, you got players that are ready to play. They're not going to come out and just mess around and, wander around acting like they don't have a leader out there, because they do. They know Chris Paul can help them through the week and get them prepared for the first game or for tomorrow. Through the week tomorrow.
I think the only thing, again, so much is dependent on the news that comes out tomorrow. And Flex from Jersey was on with the solar panel guys talking about viral load, and he was at the threshold of, being considered positive for coronavirus. And if he gets a couple negative tests, then he'll be able to play. And like the one disadvantage would be for the Suns. The Los Angeles Clippers obviously are in rhythm right now. They're playing confident. They play in 2 days, so they're going to carry over these last two impressive wins. You got to give it to the Clippers. They were impressive wins.
Yes.
So they're going to be coming into Phoenix with the faith that even without Kawhi Leonard, they can win ball games. And if CP3's out for those first two games, because again, game one's going to be on Sunday, game two's on Tuesday. That's where we wanted game one. So if game one's on Sunday, game two's on Tuesday, they come in still hot, and we just, we're trying to figure out what mismatches, to take advantage of, where our strengths can be against a team that is feeling as such. If we go down an 0-2 hole, that'd be frustrating. Let me just put it that way. I will say this too, though. It's a 7-game series. And if the Clippers have taught us anything, you can be down in a 7-game series and come all the way back like they did against Dallas earlier this postseason.
Yeah, and in these games, if Chris Paul's not there, the Suns just need to hang with them. And that's something I'm very confident this team can do during those games. Towards the end of the game, put pressure on Paul George. If Kawhi's back, put pressure on those two wings to really try to take over and just do something with the ball. When that happens with this Clippers team, it almost turns into chaos. And tonight, they only missed one shot. I think in the fourth quarter, they could not miss. It won't happen again. It looks scary, but when they come in here, the Suns are gonna be ready to go. They're not gonna get blown out or anything like that. And plus, they don't give up 25-point leads in the playoffs and then give up leads like that. So very scary to watch tonight. This is the team that we're gonna face, but take a deep breath because I think it's gonna be okay.
Well, and I think it's the other side too. When the Jazz were looking good and hitting all their threes and going nuclear from downtown in the first half, with Jordan Clarkson scoring 21 points in the second quarter, and Donovan Mitchell, who ended with 39 points and looked again impressive considering he's hurt. You feel the same way. And no matter what happens, you're playing a quality opponent. This is the Western Conference Finals. Nothing good is easy. Everything you want's on the other side of hard. And it's going to be hard in this Western Conference Finals. It's way too early for me to sit here and throw predictions out there, but I will say Suns in 6. I do believe that we can beat this team. I think that our defense, our ability to put Paul George in compromising situations with attitude, because that's all. The one thing that the Utah Jazz didn't do is play with a physical manner that the Suns do. The Suns are a team that knows how to get under your skin with the Jay Crowders and the Chris Pauls of the world, that veteran leadership. All the other guys are learning the little, ticks and tricks on how to do that as well. And we've seen it when we played Paul George earlier this season. Now, granted, the one time we did do it, and he kind of went ape shit. Yes. I think he went 14 for 19 from 3-point land in his 2 victories over the Suns this year. But in another game when he lost, I don't even think he played. Did he play in that third game?
I don't even
remember. They all blend together at this point.
I don't even remember last series, really. They do blend together, man. That season
so long ago. But, it's going to be a very compelling series. There's a lot of really good storylines here. Chris Paul, trying to get to the NBA Finals for the first time in his career, has to go against the Los Angeles Clippers, a team that, he's had monumental collapses with in the playoff past, in the lore of playoff past. You have the Clippers trying to go through Phoenix to get to their first NBA Finals. I think that there's going to be a lot of compelling storylines that are going to come out over these next few days. And honestly, we can start chanting "Beat LA" again.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Honestly, it's the easiest way to go about it, really, if you want to come up with something. This last series, I'm not too sure. We kind of were divided on two different ones, but beat LA again. And dude, when they do come, they're not going to really have a fan base too. So, and we talked about home court advantage, which is really good for the Suns. I think we talked about going into the series against the Nuggets, even the Lakers, even though they didn't have a sold out arena. Home court for the Suns is good, but they play so well on the road. So it is like, how are you going to beat this team? Because our home court, if you watch every game of these series, the other the crowd does not sound the same, right? They do get excited, all right? There's some times where it gets super, super loud, but I don't think they can really match what the Suns fans bring in that arena when it's sold out.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, playing at the Staples Center, the way that it's kind of built is it's meant to be a multi-use facility. So a lot of the seats kind of go out and then up. You saw tonight, they have like 3 levels of suites. That's where, Hollywood, that's where they make their money. So it's not necessarily known as a place that rocks. Even through the Kobe and Shaq era, nobody was like, dude, when you go to Staples, it's deafening. It's not like Oracle. When the Golden State Warriors played at the Oracle Arena, it was an old shitty arena that was really small, and the fans were kind of on top of everything, so it was really loud. And Phoenix, whether you like it or not, has been around, the Phoenix Suns Arena since like the 1992. And it has a little bit of that old school feel to it. Yes. And I think that really helps with the acoustics inside the place. It gets loud in there. It funnels through there now that they've kind of opened up the 2 spots where the bars are in the arena. And again, going to Game 5 of the Western Conference first round against the Lakers, I've never heard that place louder. And it seems like as the playoffs have gone on, our home crowd has gotten louder and louder and louder, and a true home court advantage exists. And honestly, okay, think about this. If CP3 is out for the first game, and the second game, God forbid, that would suck, but still, you have Etuan Moore. And Dave King wrote a great piece on Bright Side of the Sun today about, kind of the options. It's campaign or Etuan Moore. And I really think that Etuan Moore is the answer at starting point guard. The crowd will get behind him. And, then the campaign energy will come in off the bench and then help that second team. And that's what's made this team successful all years. Their sustained offense and their ability to play defense and to act as a cohesive unit. And I know that the Clippers are coming off a couple really good wins against a quality opponent, but I think that we'll have our home court crowd rocking and rolling, and we'll have the team taking that behind them and playing a little bit more physical on them than they probably are going to like. Get ready for a lot of pushing and shoving, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and you set it up perfectly, scene by scene, how it's currently going to happen. You can predict a lot with this team now, I feel like, in the playoffs, because you've seen so much and how consistent they are, to where who's going to show up, what's going to show up. Of course, whether or not the ball goes in, I don't know, but these players are going to be ready to play. And you said it perfectly, man. With this team, you can just count on them just showing up, dude. And that's the best thing about this team, I think, right now.
And I think the Ayton Zubac matchup's going to be really, really big. I think that we have the capacity to, have an advantage there. And it might be the first advantage that DA has this whole playoffs. You look at his points per game against I never get his name right. Fuck, I got to get this right.
Ivica
Zubac.
I'm not sure. I don't even know what I said.
Against Zubac Shakur. And Ayton averages 16 points and 10.6 rebounds to Zubac's 7.8 points and 6 rebounds. So it's a clear mismatch for DA in this series. And they don't have a lot of big depth. And, this is going to be a team that we saw it tonight with their shooting, with their capacity to play small ball. It's going to be a really interesting series because we've had to play 2 teams that are just bigger than us. Denver not so much on the behind Nikola Jokic, but definitely the Los Angeles Lakers. And we knew that if we had to play Rudy Gobert and the Jazz, and this is one of my concerns, was knowing that they had Derek Favors behind Rudy Gobert, they could take advantage of that down low against Dario Saric. Dario Saric is going to, once again, have an impact on this series because he's going to be allowed the opportunity to do so. We're going to be doing plenty of Saric smoke breaks, man.
We are. He's going to get a lot of minutes, and it's interesting to draft number 1 overall 3 years ago, DeAndre Ayton. Now he's at the point to where it seems like everything's a mismatch for him, right? I mean, he's going up against great competition, but he's still like a number 1 draft pick, turning into one of the best centers in the NBA. So you look at it, you're like, yeah, this might be a mismatch, smaller guy, or about the same size, right? Zubac, they're probably about the same size. Ayton's probably a little bit taller, but I just think that either way, if it's a mismatch, Ayton's found a way to really like absorb, all the pressure these series and just like put it on his shoulders and find ways to defeat these centers and just do what he needs to do down low. So you can always count on that. It's so cool because the Suns haven't been here forever. Suns have never done it. So we don't know what to expect, especially with this team. So it seems like every matchup, it's like, oh, mismatch. But then it comes out at the end of the series, like, no, it wasn't. Like Ayton dominated. Like these guys are dominating the other team. And just like Ayton's quote today, something about being the actual shark in the Shark Tank or whatever, that one TV show. What was he talking about? I don't know. Something like that.
No, Ayton was talking about in a fantastic article that he wrote today. And I forgive me, I tweeted it out. So follow me on Twitter and I'll at Darth Voida. And you can read his piece. But he essentially said, when the Suns were in the bubble, they realized that they weren't swimming with the Sharks, that they were the Sharks. And they have that kind of attitude and that team camaraderie. And it's going to be really fun to see that clash against the Los Angeles Clippers. There has been one series all time between the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Clippers, and that was the Western Conference semifinals in 2006. That had a famous Raja Bell corner 3 to essentially put the game to a game 7 where the Suns won that game 7 by a total of 20 points. That was back in 2006, man. Long time ago. Those were some great games. This is also the team that Devin Booker hit his famous bubble shot against. The fadeaway buzzer beater was against the Los Angeles Clippers. So, there's a history here. This is 2 Pacific Division teams going at it. We'll see if Kawhi comes back. I honestly don't know. If Kawhi comes back, this is going to be a tough series. I said it coming in. There were advantages to each team, the Jazz and the Clippers, and there were disadvantages. One of the disadvantages, if Kawhi is healthy and playable, is between him and Paul George. Their strength is wing defense, and if they put those 2 guys up on Chris Paul and Devin Booker, they're gonna cut off the head of the snake of our offensive attack. If they're constantly pestering them and making everything hard for everything to occur on offense, we're going to get 4 shots late in the shot clock, and they're really good at rotating on defense too because of their just elite athleticism. If Kawhi's playing, he could be potentially hampered. You could see the Suns try to take advantage of him like they did Anthony Davis in the first round, where it's like, you're hurt, we're going at you. We're going to make you move laterally. We're going to make you jump and try to block shots. And, it's tough going into a series knowing that the other team has 2 of the top 15 players in the NBA, and we've got one of the top 15 players in the NBA, relative to the all NBA teams, right? Because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are both all NBA players. You got Kawhi on the first team and Paul George, I believe, on the third team, and we have one on the second team. So if you look at it strictly through that lens, you want to have the better players, but at the same time, I believe that we have the better team.
Yeah, we do. And it's funny, 1 year ago, the start of the last year, Clippers were the favorite to win the championship, right?
Facts.
Now they're playing so well, but it's so funny because it's without Kawhi. So you don't know exactly how well they're going to play together against the Suns if he comes back. And it's just like they can do without him. But this is still like, besides Monsters Herald, who missed out on last year's championship with the Lakers, then joined the Lakers, and now he missed out on this year's championship. And that might be the thing, right? That might be the one thing that sticks out if the Clippers win the championship. But you just don't know what you're going to face really with this team. But just remember, though, last year they were the number 1 team to win the championship, predicted.
This is true. So we have to go through LA twice. It's just unbelievable. What about the Jazz? It's their season's over now. Donovan Mitchell looked heartbroken. This is a team that had the number 1 record in the NBA. And once they heard Kawhi Leonard was out, do you think that they just weren't mentally tough enough to push past that? They thought, oh, we got this.
It's two different things for me. It's the shooting tonight, which was ridiculous by the Clippers, because it got to the point where even if you're who Patrick Beverly standing out there on the corner, like hitting, what did he hit, like 3 threes in the fourth, which is something that never ever happens.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're raining from the sky basically tonight. But I mean, if you're gonna play the Clippers, and then I think if you go back to the Jazz, what was your question, John? Initially,
just thinking about the Jazz, do you think that they, let took
I'm
their
looking at
foot
job
off
interview right now.
What's that?
This is like me at a job interview. What was the question? Like
What was the
halfway through
question?
answering it.
Well, I mean, do you think that they weren't mentally tough enough to overcome the fact that they were playing against a team that was hampered? They're like, oh, they're hampered. We got this. And they just didn't necessarily do it.
Yeah, well, if you're looking at it that way too, this was my second point because I already did my first one. The second point was what I was gonna say is, how much time do you have to adjust to this with Kawhi being out? And that might be another thing too, because I mean, I always compare it to football when the backup comes in the second half because of the injury to the starter. Usually he's doing pretty good. He gets the team back. He might seek out a win, and then he plays another couple games, and it's hard to adjust for a little bit, and then defenses start to adjust, and then you can do something. It's kind of the same thing because Kawhi, like I was hearing on every podcast, he was the best player left in all the series combined. Mm-hmm. So now that he's gone, you have to adjust to that, and I think that had to play a big part to it.
And he could come back. I mean, that's the thing is, and if he does, it's going to be a tough series. I'm not afraid. I believe, honestly, before this series began, whether it was the Jazz or the Clippers, from a team aspect, we have the better team. It's going to be a 7-game series or a 6-game series. This isn't going to be another Denver series. This is going to be a team that has the offensive firepower. They're the best free throw shooting team in the NBA, which I think is, as we're seeing over on the Philadelphia side of things, is very vital come playoff time. You have to have the ability to knock down your free throws if you want to win games. They're number 1 in the league in 3-point percentage. 41% from 3 is what this team shoots. They're 4th in the league in defense. So, kind of as you mentioned, Matthew, this is a team that was favored to win the NBA title. They're right where they should be. And it's our turn now to knock them out, as well as Marcus Morris. We took care of Marquise Morris. We got Monte Morris in the second round. No relation. Now it's on to Marcus Morris. Time to knock him out too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting for Suns fans. That could be one of the storylines, but I can care less about that dude anymore. There's more guys to worry about on this Clippers team. If we beat him, good. I think that fake toughness can get really annoying in this series. I know we talked about Donovan Mitchell and how annoying he is, but Morris, it's a little different because he tries to act tough and go at the weakest player on the court. You're going to see that a lot again, and thank God he's on a different team.
No Serge Ibaka, so that hurts their depth. But they do have Rajon Rondo. And although Rajon Rondo hasn't necessarily been a big part of the playoff run that they are currently on, you look at what he's done thus far. He's played in 9 games this postseason, 4.1 points, 4.2 assists. They're just not utilizing him. It's something that you might see in this series, especially, with Chris Paul out there. I think that him and Rajon Rondo, that'd be an interesting matchup.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so many little kind of matchups. They definitely have very experienced players on their team. That's why they built their bench out the way that they did.
Yeah. And same thing with the Suns, right? They try to add that experience, and that's why these two teams are matched up in the Western Conference Finals. And I'm stoked because the more and more we talk about it, you do think about all the storylines going into it, and it's just like it's going to be nuts. And I think LA, when we go back, and then the Clippers fans see how good the Suns are, and they're like, all right, we got to match that. That's what happens, and it's going to be even crazier when we go back to LA.
Yeah, Boogie Cousins too. I forgot he's on that team too. So.
Oh, what? He doesn't do anything.
I know he does. It's just funny how they're like, okay, listen, we need every guy who's on the 2013 NBA All-Star team. Who's there? Rajon Rondo's out there raising his hands like, I'm available. Boogie Cousins is like, I guess I'm available. Yeah. So like, all right, guys, come here, come on, let's do this thing. So
if you want a hip check into the boards,
yeah, seriously, Rob Orr is going to come out of retirement. So. I think on that note, this is just kind of a quick reaction pod. It's weird to go live after a game that's not the Phoenix Suns, but obviously this is big for Phoenix. They're playing the Clippers. The frustrating thing, man, is it's on Father's Day. I do have to work that day. Yeah, it's Father's Day on Sunday.
Can they just listen? Can they please just reschedule to Tuesday? I know I want Suns basketball,
No, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. I've already seen the schedule. It's just every other day again. No 3 days off anywhere. It's just like boom, 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 boom. It's it's by the time this time next week, we'll be 3 games into this next series, into the Western Conference Finals, on our way to the NBA Finals. But I'm gonna have to take off work. I'm gonna have to take off at like 12 o'clock because so
yeah, you're gonna have to like turn around at your bar and start watching the game.
yeah, I'll be like, hey guys, no, I'm not gonna. My bar's outside. It's 117, dude. It's fucking nasty out right now. So it's a pool bar, and I'm not in the pool, so not gonna do that. So, anything else you want to throw down and talk about before we get out of here today?
No, I'm actually super excited now to watch. So I'm back and forth. My hormones are everywhere. So, just bring on Sunday. It's gonna be a mess. I might be listening to some of it from the radio, picking up Hayden from the airport. So Al McCoy, bring me home. It's fun to listen to Al McCoy though. So I'm gonna do it for the Western Conference Finals.
Wow,
at least one game.
I'll be there. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, there you go, Suns fans. Suns, Clippers, Sunday, 12:30 Arizona time. We're back in the Western Conference Finals, and we're playing a team that's never been there before. So who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, tomorrow's huge. Tune into the Sun Solar Panel tomorrow. They're going to be talking about the series as well, with probably a little bit more well-researched reactions than me and Matthew. We're just like looking at the lineup, like, oh shit, Boogie Cousins, forgot about that motherfucker. And then we'll know that CP3 news at some point tomorrow, and we're hoping positive things. And how gangster would it be is if it's the press conference for CP3 and he comes walking in like a leather jacket and like a State Farm hat and sits down. He's like, I'm playing, and just gets up and leaves. Like that would just be legendary. You can hope, can't you?
I will. I just want to hear from him. I just want to see his face.
I just want to make sure he's okay.
Me too.
So on that note, everybody who's watching along, please subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. If you're listening, subscribe to the Bright Side of the Sun Podcast Network, and make sure you follow the show at Suns Jam on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow me at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew
at Matthew Lucy.
All right, Matthew, anything else?
Everyone go home and love your family.
And go Suns.
Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Come on, let me